Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Cyber Queens Live. And today we are joined by a very special guest, someone I'm very excited to talk to. We are joined by Mackenzie Wartenberger, who is about to be a recent graduate of something called the Aquia Accelerator. I'm so excited. Mackenzie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Mackenzie Mack Wartenberger. So I am a newcomer to the cybersecurity world, but I have the privilege to work with Meryl at Aquia, and I'm about to graduate and be doing some cyber operator stuff.
Yeah, we're excited. I actually put in the caption, I was like, just because she's graduating doesn't mean she's looking. We're going to keep her.
No,
we can't have it.
Very happy.
We're going to keep her.
We're going to keep her. She's going to be ours. So today we're going to be talking about Mack's story, about her experience breaking into cyber, because Mack comes to us from a completely non-technical background. So I will let her say her story in her own words. I met Mack personally about 6 months ago. If I can do math, is it 6? Back in September of last year at our one of our company offsites. And she was so new. We were all like, oh my God, the intern's here. Let's talk to her. Does she love it? Does she hate it? Is she overwhelmed? So it was great. But please do tell us why, tell us a bit about your background and what you did before you did arrive here in cyber.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So I started out my career in the mid 2000s as a track and field coach. So I worked in the NCAA with men's and women's track and field athletes, and thought that was going to be my career forever. I was an athlete in school and fell right into coaching and loved it. Was really passionate about it. It was amazing working with young men and women who are doing this like really exciting thing in their lives. But I was kind of the classic victim of telling people, hey, take care of yourself, fill up your cup so you can help others. I wasn't doing that for myself. And so towards the end of 2021, especially post-COVID, I was running ragged, burning the candle at both ends, and wasn't bringing what I needed to bring to my job anymore. I still feel really strongly that is such a critical role for people to play and to help kind of be a guide for young people. And my fatigue and my lack of self-care was like really starting to impact how much I was able to give. So I made a really tough decision at the end of 2021 to step away. I thought it was going to be a short break, but it ended up being a longer one because I realized like, hey, I needed to unpack some stuff. I needed to kind of get me right. And then the scary staring into the abyss of like, okay, I'm a gym teacher, essentially. I'm a university gym teacher. What do I do now? My skill set was, had a college degree, but no technical background. I was working with people. I was doing a lot of recruiting. I was doing a lot of budgeting, obviously the sports specific stuff, but didn't have a lot to go into. And suddenly the world of cybersecurity popped up. So I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted something that had a little bit more work-life balance, something where I could prioritize myself and my family and what our goals are. And, knew what I was looking for, but didn't really know how to get there.
Yeah, I think that happens with so many people. So many people just kind of get to a point where they're afraid to try because like, what if they fail? But then like it cuts to a point where staying is more detrimental than just putting yourself out there and trying. Right.
I think as women in particular, women in particular do that. We stay for too long in spaces where we feel like we're providing a service or we're helping people and we forget to take care of ourselves. So this pivot for me, while really scary, was kind of about prioritizing me too, which was awesome.
That is so awesome. I know we need to preach more of that. I mean, I know we do a good job of it already, but that hits home, right? I feel like that's being able to take that. And by the way, your background is fantastic. We need more. You never know when that's going to come into play, right? You never know. I mean, who knows? Maybe, you never know. If you, in like 5 years from now, we'll see you running an entire security operations program. Who knows with that leadership skill that you brought. So I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that just speaks to how like diversity of thought, diversity of background, diversity of all these things is like what really makes us bring special flavors to cyber. Like the fact that I was not someone who grew up hacking since I was 12. It's kind of one of those things that gives me an edge over people who have been. So well, we love having you here. We're so happy you chose us. So why, when you were looking for all those things and all those changes, why did you pick cyber as a field? Like, or what drew you here? Or like, was it intimidating? Was it mysterious? Like, how did you tell yourself that's what I want and I think I can do it?
That's a great question because it's really intimidating. And I don't think, I'm older, not old, but I'm in my mid 30s. I wasn't some like young out of school person. And it seemed, I was telling Amber before we went live, I knew how to work my iPhone. Like I could update my MacBook, but I was not the kid taking apart computers at age 9, trying to figure out how they worked and rebuild them. I was a jock, and in all the good ways and in all the bad ways too. So this space seemed really foreign. I was picturing like the classic guy in his mom's basement in the hoodie, that classic hacker image. But I was really lucky to have some friends and family that work in and around the cyberspace and in tech. And what I was seeing was they were constantly challenged. They were always learning, and they had all of this flexibility, flexibility I'd never had. I was on the road 200 of the 360 days of the year and working crazy 70 to 4 weeks. And there was no off switch. And I loved that for a long time. But what I saw my friends and family doing was having these really fulfilling careers where they were doing interesting stuff. They were solving problems. They were impacting change because, gosh, like the cybersecurity world is so exciting. What we're doing to secure so many different facets of modern life. And they had lives. They had flexibility. They seemed to be really, really happy and rested and enjoying it. And that was the kicker for me.
Yeah. That's one of the things we did tell people, back in episode 1, we were trying to rebrand cyber as sexy and like innovative and something that's fun. Like, I feel like so many of us walk around with these stereotypes that like, wow, those poor nerds, they must live in basements and like hate their lives and like
light.
Yeah. They obviously went into computers because they don't understand people. And it's like, I came from marketing. You came from coaching. Right. Like, and Amber, did you do something before you got into SEing?
Before being an SE, yes. So I've been in cybersecurity specifically for 14 years. So I started doing, sounds like what you're going to be doing as well. I was actually on the analytics side. So I was a security analyst and a compliance analyst first. And before that, I just did a bunch of different random tech jobs and temp jobs and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's one of those things where it's like, there is so much opportunity in cyber for that work-life balance, for those fun, innovative projects. And like, I know a bunch of people are looking at us and thinking, lines of code, the terminal, SOC audits, not fun. But it is fun. It can be fun. It definitely feels cool to be a part of the effort. So how are you liking it so far? Was it everything you thought it would be? Were there some I would keep this, but I would leave that? Like, what would you say to people who are thinking of coming to this industry?
Well, I mean, I couldn't have been more wrong from like the nerd in the basement, right? Like it's such a diverse space with, like so much exciting stuff is going on. So what I'm doing specifically, and I know we'll get into the accelerator in a bit, is working with like the GRC, so the governance, risk, and compliance space. And like you were saying, Meryl, like the code and the terminal, like I'm cranking policy and procedure documents, but it's great because you're looking at like, oh man, we got to plug these holes. We got to find spaces to make sure everyone can do all the cool bleeding edge stuff they want to do, but like not get burnt on the back end. And it's been awesome. I think I'm really lucky to work for a great company that is investing in me really heavily and in my education, and like from the top down, from like the deviest dev folks to like the most compliance folks, everyone's been like, how can we help? What can we teach you? And that was really scary because that wasn't my experience first looking at the cybersecurity space. It is hard to break down that first door. And I'm loving it. Like it is everything that I wanted from the work-life balance. But what I've found is this incredible space that is accommodating and welcoming and really challenging that couldn't be happier.
I just want to say thank you to the cyber industry for not being toxic and not being all the things I say that we are. Like,
yay, it's awesome.
Totally. Yay for welcoming new people. Amber and I can tout it all day. We can say that this is a wonderful community and we're so supportive and we really do encourage you. And when I first started, it was so hard to be the stupid person. Like I wanted to be like, I learned about this today, but I'm like, if I say the wrong port, if I say the wrong protocol, if I say the wrong thing, I'm gonna look stupid and they're gonna eviscerate me. But no, I really do think that this is evidence that we are just as supporting and inclusive as I say we are. Not everybody, mind you, but I surround myself with, at least I think so.
Totally.
That's awesome.
So, speaking of the breaking in part, you have done a thing that many people hope to do. I have done a thing that many people are trying to do, which is to break into cyber cold from something completely non-technical. So when you did decide the direction you wanted and you started to go about looking into like did you start looking at what the positions even were? How did you find Aquia's Accelerator? Like, how did you identify and see that was something you wanted to try? Or like, just how did you go about the actual getting in part?
Yeah, great question. So I think the biggest thing is I like to lead with gratitude, and I had this incredible network. So that I kind of lucked into, right? I've got a family member that works in the cybersecurity space on the private side, and my brother, and he connected me with some operators, Caroline Wong, who's at Cobalt, and a couple other really awesome, influential folks that just made time. Like these are people that don't need to make time for ex-college track coaches to ask questions, and it was so awesome, especially having some of these really strong women answer questions and make time to meet up on LinkedIn and have quick phone calls and give guidance. And I kind of was able to network with some of the folks at Aquia and was lucky enough to, I think, kind of be in the right place at the right time at the kind of advent of this accelerator program and have some cool conversations about like, all right, I've got a skill set. I was managing groups of people for 12 years and I'm a decent communicator and I've done the whole leader thing before. And I think those things can be really useful for a cybersecurity operator. But I'm missing this huge body of technical know-how. And I am like so grateful that the folks at Aquia were like, hey, we can teach you that. Like that's a learned thing. We've got the resources to turn you into this. And so that was really great. And I was able to leverage that network to have that first conversation. And suddenly I think this idea of the accelerator that had been kind of incubating at Aquia for a long time, how do we get people into cyber? We've got hundreds of thousands of unfilled jobs in cybersecurity. How do we bridge that gap with not just people that only know cybersecurity? How do we bring people in that maybe have different perspectives, like you were saying, Meryl, that bring a different flavor, that bring a little spice, that might have something new to offer? So I feel really lucky to have been in that place at the right time and to have a lot of people helping push me through that door.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I'm seeing some common themes here, Amber. Are you seeing the common theme where like your network is the thing that will do it for you?
Preach this all day long. I mean, that's like, the same thing for me, right? I was a waitress when I first got my when I first got my job as a compliance analyst for a cybersecurity firm out here that was brand new. And I had a girlfriend of mine who was a recruiter, and we both ended up like kind of in between jobs at the same time, working for company called First Data, which hopefully you guys have all heard of. But so we worked there together, and she goes, you know what? Because I said, I'm just going to go back to waitressing. It's fine. Like, whatever. And she goes, no. I have this new recruiting job. I can find you a job, and it's amazing. I was like, what? This is awesome. And I remember I was like, I have no idea what compliance analyst means, but I will go there. I'm telling you, if he's looking, Brian was one of my first bosses in this industry.
Shout out to Brian.
His wife have this whole thing where they support women. It's fantastic. But he gave me a chance, right? He took a huge shot on me. And I remember at the end, my recruiter friend told me as feedback, she goes, you said awesome way too many times, but I think he loved it because nobody on his team is this pumped about this job. And I was like, yeah, right. So we definitely need that. Like just being able to have your background, right, be so different. I mean, it's you have to think differently if we're going to get ahead of anything in this industry. And we need change constantly. Like everything else is changing and we're trying to adapt to it. But I think getting ahead of it and, having people that come in with this mindset of a different, completely different background, you actually put concepts in place that we would never have drawn into this industry from another. Right. So I think that's huge what you're doing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And the other thing I'm seeing that I tell people all the time is to know your strengths. If you're going to come in not having anything technical, and again, we can teach you that part. I always tell people, if you want to hack, I can teach you to bash. I can teach you to use tools. I can teach you these things. What I cannot teach you is like the drive and like adversarial mindset and like that malicious way of thinking. That was one of the things I brought by myself, and I learned everything else. But it's to know your strengths and tell them what you bring, know how to market yourself. My first interview in cyber with my OG manager who took a chance on me, Heather, shout out to Heather. she was like, so, this woman is completely non-technical. Why do you want to work here? Why do you think you can work here? I was like, because I learn fast, I retain well, I understand things. I'm really good at relaying highly technical, complex things that you've just explained to me once to non-technical people. And that was a skill that they needed. That was something they didn't have. And, it was a very small department of like an architect, the CISO, and her, the program manager, and they don't have time to be in meetings and like being the representative, like sacrificial lamb. So I started doing all of that. And like, as long as you tell them how you're going to make their lives easier and what you bring and you have passion for it and like aptitude for it, generally people take a chance on you.
100%.
Right. Speaking of the aptitude, were you nervous about learning the technical content once you got in here? Were you like, I think pressure's
yeah, that's the scariest part, right? And what's awesome is that between LinkedIn Learning and Pluralsight and all these great services, like there's a ton of resources out there. But it was intimidating. You're like, ooh, what's Python? Like, yikes. Like, I thought that? Amazon was just where I set up my subscriptions to get like my groceries and stuff. Like, I didn't realize Amazon Web Services was a thing. So that was quite the rabbit hole to go down. But yeah, I think the skilling up happened. I had this false impression that everyone was just going to like speak code as their primary language, and I was going to have to come in and like know all of this stuff. And that was really intimidating and really scary. And I think that's a big reason why GRC has been such a great place to start, because it is kind of that human language piece. Like I can write, I can do all this kind of stuff. And it was a softer intro. The technical part is still scary, but what I'm discovering, and Meryl, you were great about, we had a conversation about this a couple weeks ago. No one knows everything. It seems like everyone knows everything, but no one knows exactly. There's Kubernetes experts, but like, if you're not a Kubernetes expert, you don't know exactly the ins and outs of that. Right. So figuring out that I needed to ask and getting really good at Googling and figuring out like where to look for answers was huge. And the technical knowing everything, having everything in my brain was never going to happen. I spent 12, 13 years doing something else. There's no way to get 12 to 13 years of experience. I thought I needed that. And in fact, there were so many people that are like, you just need a node to call it, an endpoint and not an iPad, or
right. That's amazing. I think that's so important.
It's not a computer.
I remember it's so funny because it feels like you and I are so similar. I came up in the compliance world too. And I'm so glad I did, because I don't know if I would have gone straight into like network security, because my parents have done this for a bajillion years. Right. And my dad has always been like a network, like physically hands-on keyboard, hands-on building everything from the ground up kind of guy. And to me, I was like, oh my God, that's so boring. I would never want to do that. Right. And so I'm so glad I went into the side that I did, because I don't think I would have stayed otherwise. Right. That fit my personality more. But I also, I kind of had that like imposter syndrome, right? Where I was like, oh God, like people already probably think I'm just like this joke anyway. Now that means I have to know everything, right? Like everybody here knows everything about every part. And that is such a misconception. And one of the things, and we can talk about that later, but one of the things we focus on now with the nonprofit that I run is helping kids even understand that getting into cybersecurity or getting into tech doesn't mean that you have to know how to code. I don't know how to code a single thing, not one single thing. I've taken some Python classes, some stuff like this. I've done it with my son who's 10-year-old level classes. And I'm still like, nope, I'm good on this. Like, this is not my strength, nor do I want it to be. Right. So I think that there are so many avenues. And I love that you said that Google is everybody's best friend. Like Google, YouTube, all the things that you need to learn how to do, it's out there. And, you don't have to be the expert. Like, why would you need to be when you can just Google it real quick, right? So
that's one of the reasons I hate certification tests so much. I'm like, listen, if this was a problem, I don't memorize 300 Nmap scripts. If I need to Nmap something specific or I want to add a special flag, I Stack Overflow it. Like, I know where to go to find that thing, but like, let's make them a little bit more realistic. No one's memorizing. I have people who still get like CISA manuals out and reference CISA manuals. Like, no one is out here memorizing cybersecurity. Okay. I agree.
Unless you're a million years old and you've been doing nothing but that specific domain and topic forever. I don't think anyone expects you to be like, hey, you're the new Google. Meryl, did you know that?
Exactly.
Congratulations. I'm like walking Google. The wiki over here. No, absolutely not. And I want to echo something Amber said. A lot of people that I know are only willing to come in super technical capacities to get into cyber, like pen testing or nothing. And I'm like, that's so great. But also, like, I did start out in a compliance role as well. I was a risk analyst. So I worked with SOC 2 Type 2 audits. And I tell people that was the perfect place to grow up because, you know, as a non-technical person, I'm like, I need an administrative function I can do. I need somewhere I can give immediate value, something that's already in my wheelhouse. And like dealing with big documents, attention to detail, that's in my wheelhouse. And as I went through and learned control statements, my CISO would be like, do you know why that's bad? I'm like, no, all it's saying is, do you offboard people? And do you do that? I hope so. Okay. He's like, because if you don't, he's like, if you don't, this is what you're at risk of. This is what can happen. So we check these things for that. And I'm like, oh, that's really bad. So it was a great place to grow up and learn cyber controls for like the administrative and policy driven reason. And it's one of the things that makes me such a good red teamer. So, you know, we all start out compliance and GRC.
What and the how. I think it's such a better way in, honestly, especially for those of us that are people. It's an amazing way.
It's an amazing way in. Can't say it enough.
Yeah. And the red teaming is sexy, right? Like the whole like black hat, white. I mean, that's just so cool. And that's like the shiny, glittery piece. So, you know, Googling cybersecurity roles, it was like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. But I would have had to have taken a boot camp. I would have had to have poured myself into learning this. And then I probably wouldn't have been a very good pen tester, right? Because I didn't have any of the background, like you were saying, Meryl. And I think when you're thinking about the compliance piece, like nobody likes compliance. Track coaches don't like compliance. Like nobody likes compliance, right? Everyone is like, ooh, the compliance guy, run away. But it's been such a great place to learn. And like you said, Amber, like getting that foundation, building that base. And I feel really great that Aquia is excited about me working as a GRC analyst, but then also is pushing me to like continue to flex and continue to grow, like tech up, skill up. Like this is just the ground level, but you have to have that. You can't go super skilly, in my opinion, can't go super skilly and then think that the rest will just fill itself in because it's soft, you know?
Right.
So
Erica's not here. Erica's not here with us this week, but Erica, who, you know, got to a certain level of technical knowledge and even in sales, is now taking Security Plus. She's now taking technical certifications, and she's going to become even more technical because she's been around it long enough that she understands. So like you can start out somewhat soft skilly with like a technical exposure and niche super technical later. No one is saying you can't do that.
Totally.
It's a perfect example of that. I mean, her tenacity, I'm telling you, I supported her as her SE or sales engineer since I've known her, right? And then we kind of went to different companies, but I remember the whole time she told me one day, like, hey, I want to do what you do. And I was like, why? You get like the fun part of this job. Like, because I want to be more, right? Like I want to learn more. And that's what we need. We need the people that are determined and they want to learn it, not that they're being forced to learn it, because it's not gonna really all compile the way it should if you don't care about it. And so for her, she really, I mean, I love that woman so much. I've told her, I was like, you can borrow all my old books for studying for Security Plus, dude. Like I even have an old board game I made for this stuff. Right. And I think, I don't know. I think if it's out there and you want it, it's yours for the taking. That is always what I tell every, you know, man, woman, and now child. You know, if it's out there,
all the children,
all the time, this is available to you. It's just a matter of who actually wants it enough to get it. Right. So
yeah, I say it's not for everybody, but anybody can do it. Owing back to like, you know, the technically required skills. Everyone's like, God, I want to be a hacker like you, but I don't know. Python's going to take me 2 years to learn Python. That's going to take me 2 years to do this. I'm like, I didn't have any of that when I started. None of it. And I do this job every day. That's not required. Like we have perpetuated these like false things. Like you don't need all that stuff to start. Like maybe you need that stuff to be really, really good later on. Absolutely. But to get started, absolutely not. And speaking back of the accelerator. So I submitted my mother to the same program. We're going to run another cohort that Mackenzie's about to graduate. And, you know, because I'm sick of seeing her toil in these customer service jobs where they don't appreciate her and her work ethic. And I'm like, Mom, you're brilliant. Anything that you've put your mind to learning, you've learned. She learned medical billing and coding because she thought she was going to do that. I'm like, I can't do that. You could totally keep up with this, I think. Like, and I think you'd love it. So she was like, I'm not technical like you and your father, Meryl. I can't do that. My dad's a SCADA engineer and I can't do what my dad does, but he can't do what I do either. So we're fine.
Right.
But I'm like, Mom, you totally can. You bring a strength. You can learn this. You can understand it. You can bring what you have already and you can just build on top of that. So like, if you take nothing else away from this episode, please just understand that whatever soft skill foundation you have, there's a place for you in tech. There's a place for you in cyber. and you can build upon that knowledge later.
Totally.
100%.
And I'm going to take this opportunity. It's a really good place to just brag on the Aquia Accelerator just a little bit. I wouldn't normally plug my own company so much, but I am so proud of these guys that I work for. My founders are Chris Hughes, John Sasser, and David Mascaroni. And I am just so proud of this program they put together, because it's one of the only like it that I've seen. And they are a group of really good gentlemen, and I'm thrilled to work for them. Like, it took a lot to pull me away from my red team role, but they were the three who could have done it. So the Aquia GRC Accelerator is a program. Aquia is meeting a demand for more cyber professionals with its accelerator, which is a train-to-hire program specifically targeting individuals who may not otherwise have means to access further education or the qualifications necessary to be hired in a cybersecurity capacity. So it's a 6-month-long program that includes a paid apprenticeship. We are going to pay you. We are not saying come learn to do this job for us and work for us for free. It's a paid internship. You get access to training materials and courseware, Pluralsight, Coursera, LinkedIn Learning. We give you all the tools that you need to succeed. We link you up with mentors, other people who can help you. Like, if you read a concept 12 times and you don't get it, we have some diva in our company who will help you understand it. And we take the time to dedicate to you. We really do. And then after that, upon completion of the program, participants are transitioned into a role as an associate governance, regulatory, and risk and compliance specialist at Aquia, meaning if you do it, if you graduate, if you take the trainings, if you gain the knowledge, we are not just then going to kick you out and say, God, good luck. Although if you wanted to leave, we would support you and we would do everything we can. But I mean, we're hiring Mackenzie full-time. She's going right from graduate to full-time hire. And this speaks to, like, this is a GRC dedicated accelerator. So this just says, like, again, technicians suck at GRC. No one likes it. Everybody hates it, but it's a need. And it's a thing that organizations suck at. And we believe in this so much. We are training up the next big wave of GRC people. So, I mean, all the GRC people y'all going to be hiring are going to come from us probably. But I'm so proud of this program. And so I just wanted to take some time to, like, really tell you all about it. We will include a link to it in the comments. The next cohort's going to start shortly. Like I said, I submitted my mother, so maybe we'll have that update for y'all soon. But anyway, reactions, reviews, what do you guys think? Have you seen anything else like this?
I mean, I haven't. I think it's amazing that you're putting all that together. I think before all this existed, I found something that was helpful. That was cybrary.it. Mm-hmm. Used to be free. Now there's like a paid thing for it, but that's about the only other thing that I've seen. But even still, I mean, they don't do like paid internships and stuff like this and then hire you and do all that. That's amazing. Yeah. This is
and it's the whole idea that, like, every entry level position in cyber, they want 3 years of experience, right? Like, how they're one of the big issues with filling the workforce gap, especially with women, especially with folks that haven't had the same exposure to cyber, the people that don't look like that hacker in the basement. You know, it's really hard to break in, especially if you're not on the path. And I think, Meryl, to kind of mirror what you're saying, so exciting to be a part of this. It's weird to be a member of the program, like a member of a cohort 1 in the Aquia Accelerator, and also feel really proud of this organization for what they're doing. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They're not just saying, oh, boo-hoo, it's so hard to get into cyber, someone should really do something. They're doing something. And I think that's so great, because what they're doing is they're finding people they really like, hopefully, that bring something to the table. Not just something they learned in a book that checks a box, but something that could be transformative down the line. I think they're betting on us. They're saying, like, hey, Mackenzie might not know, a keystroke from a terminal, but she is awesome, and we think she's got good ideas, and we want to train her up. We want to invest in her, and I think that is just such a unusual thing. It's been really exciting to be a part of this, and I'd love to see that happen more. Bring more women in. Bring more minorities in, bring more midlife, mid-career people in. It's what's needed.
Yeah. Members of older communities, members of impoverished communities, members of underserved, underrepresented communities. These are the people that we're targeting with this accelerator. It's not like, if you have a college degree and access to certain resources, they are prioritizing those who would not normally be given a chance. So That's why I'm so proud.
Yes,
absolutely.
That is fantastic. I love the program. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Speaking of my mom is going to be she's going to kill me, 61 this year. So she's in her 60s. Yeah. So, you know, she's someone who like, it's never too late to start over, y'all. You can start tomorrow. And next year you will be farther along than you were this year. And like, you have us, the queens, you have people who have been through these programs to help you, to inspire you, to educate you. We're happy to have conversations. I want to know though, Mackenzie, so being an intern in this program, you know, Aquia is a small company. We have less than 35 employees. How did you feel going through it? Did you feel like the intern? Did you feel like the fly on the wall? Was it hard to learn through osmosis from others? Like, tell us about the experience of going through it.
Well, the wildest thing is I was kind of accepted as a member of the accelerator. And I think like 4 days later went to the corporate offsite. So hadn't done anything, hadn't been in any meetings, flew to San Diego and essentially was just there.
Oh. Did we lose Mackenzie? Did you lose her too?
Oh, there?
Oh, you're back. Okay,
cool. Yeah. So, I mean, went to that offsite 4 days after being accepted in the accelerator, knew nothing, had no idea of what I was going to do, what my focus was going to be. We've got this brilliant guy that works with our software bill of materials, our SBOM kind of wing. He's a developer. And he and I went for like a walk around the hotel we were in. And I was like, tell me what SBOM is. I don't have any concept of what this means. Please explain SBOM to me. So that was awesome, but really scary. And Meryl, I remember having a conversation with you. You were like, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know.
What are you interested in? What do you like? You're like, I don't know what I don't know. I was like, oh,
getting a job.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, I think that's been great. You know, all those concerns, those initial concerns have been like so chilled out and so calmed because everyone's like, hey, let's huddle for 15 minutes so I can tell you about what being an ISO is like. Let me tell you about like all of these different things. Hey, here's a 15-second explanation of what Kubernetes is so that you don't sound like a goober the next time you're talking about it with someone. You know, I think that's been awesome. So it was really intimidating, really nerve-wracking, but it has been such an incredible opportunity. And I come to work and it feels good, you know. It feels good to be learning and growing and have such incredible support from a cool org. And outside of it too, I will say that like there's a lot of issues in every organization and we need to make it easier for all kinds of people to pursue their career paths. But I've been so overwhelmed by the support and all the really positive feedback I've gotten from everyone at Aquia and outside. It's been awesome.
It's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that for you. And I'm glad we snagged you too, because I've enjoyed working with you as well.
It's been great.
If it's not a two-way street, don't tell me to my face. Just hate me. I don't want to hear it.
Definitely a two-way street.
I know. I think when she first came in, I was like, do you even know what all the things you can do with GRC? She was like, no. I was like, you can kind of go GRC manager or like ISO. ISO is kind of more technical. She was like, what does that mean? So we set up one-to-ones and we just started doing like Q&A sessions with people so that she could learn about what she's interested in. Speaking of, now that you are oriented and you are going to graduate and, you know, you've got some technical know-how under your belt. By the way, Mackenzie didn't just sit back and learn and sit back and say nothing in meetings. Mackenzie has been generating output, delivering products to customers, attending meetings, contributing in a big, big way. So like, she was not like this intern in the corner who didn't do much. She leapt right in and started actually adding value, which is insane. That just tells me that you found a good niche for yourself. But what's next? What are you going to do now? Where do you want to go?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, I mean, I think right now it just feels great to be paying some of the generosity and some of the support that I've gotten forward. It's awesome to feel like, hey guys, let's crank on these things. Let's build these security document profiles. Let's get these policies and procedures in line, you know, gosh, go compliance, go. But it's great. And that feels really good right now just to be contributing. I think, you know, Meryl, you said it, Aquia is a small org. I mean, I can remember our first one-on-one conversations when you were like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to take you under my wing and we're going to get this sorted. So it finally feels good to be able to say like, okay, I've got this. Like, I'm going to build this disaster recovery plan. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good. And it's going to be a start. You know, that feels great.
Do it. Yes.
Yeah. I'm really excited to start to address the technical side. That's a piece that I think early days, it was just this drinking from the fire hose, try to get as much exposure to everything. And as I've honed in on GRC and compliance. I think I've kind of shifted some of the technical things to the background so I can kind of gain, at least approach some mastery of the smaller parts of GRC. I'm excited to ultimately circle back to that. I do want to have more technical skills. I started doing the Cloud Resume Challenge with a bunch of folks at Aquia, and that fell off a little bit, but it was so cool to be getting in and be building S3 buckets and figuring all of that out. And so I'm excited to kind of lean into that as my career unfolds. It's so cool to be at the very start of a career, but have all the perspective of this isn't my first career. I know what my mile markers are. I know what my values are. I know what's important to me as a human. And it's like this amazing second chance to apply all of that to a really exciting space. So long answer to a short question. Right now, I'm just excited to be making sure everyone's compliant and that our risks are mitigated when possible. But I'm excited.
A beautiful answer. I love that answer.
There we go. You did it.
You did it. Done. Just drop the mic and walk away.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, next, I think we're going to get into your career development planning, which is like the next phase now that you've got a significant amount of, like I said, SA under your belt. So we're excited. We're excited for you. I can't wait to see what you do next. Super thrilled to have you as a fellow Aquia. The second we get a sales division, I'm going to suck the other queens in too. We're picking it up. The reason we started the accelerator also is because we're starting to get more. So we work for a contractor. We're starting to get more GRC contracts and FedRAMP and compliance stuff. So we're like, we need a lot more GRC people to like hold these people's hands. So I have a feeling a commercial sales division might be coming soon, but we'll see. But anyway, we are at about 36 minutes. I think it's time for final takeaways. I knew this was going to be a longer episode, but I'm thrilled that it was. We will go first. Mackenzie, you can think about what you'd like your final takeaways to be. Anything for the audience, anything for anyone who's not yet working in cyber, anyone who is working in cyber, thinking about working in cyber, etc. I'll go first for once. My final takeaway is just going to be to not be afraid to start, to not be afraid to put yourself out there. Mackenzie had to put herself out there a number of times, not only to ask questions, not only to seek opportunities, but once she got here, she had to be comfortable putting herself out there in her lack of knowledge and saying, I don't know what that means. I don't know what this is. Also, like she said, this IR plan is going to suck, but I'm going to write the worst IR plan we can have, and then we're going to go up from there. And it's really just, something is better than nothing. Done is better than perfect, especially in cyber. And everyone who's freaked out to give new people their cyber programs, I'm like, you're not doing cyber well as it is anyway. So why not just give the people a freaking chance? So that's my final takeaway.
Yeah.
Amber, you go next.
I was going to say a lot of that, is kind of what I would ring home with as well. But another important thing to me, and this is actually something that, even though I've been doing this for 14 years, one of my best girlfriends spoke to me yesterday, and she was like, no matter what, at the end of the day, like whenever you're freaking out about like, how does the world see me? Am I good enough? Am I this? Everybody is great at something. Like, I don't care who you are. Every single person is great at something. And it's about being honest with yourself, but also being honest with like any potential employers or anything else, right? Like, here's what my strengths are. Maybe I'm not super technical or whatnot because I came from, coaching and doing all this other stuff, but here's the value points that I will bring to add to the team, right? So I will add to the success in this way, right? And any great leader is going to see that and be like, oh, that's perfect. Because it's crazy. I used to think that in this industry, soft skills were just a given, and that like hard skills were things that were like valued, right? But it's almost taken a turn because you can teach anything to anybody, right? For the most part. But you can't teach people that drive. You can't teach them perseverance. You can't teach them the personality that it takes to be successful here and to help other companies be successful thereafter. So I think just know who you are. That's like my thing that I always say on these, but it is true. We all need to stop pretending that we are these, and like, we are just the know-it-alls. We are the experts. It's a lot of stress you have to carry. Don't do that. Be who you are. The right things will drive and they will come to you naturally. So, and also don't be afraid of stop being afraid of not coding to get into this industry. I will just
God, for the love of God, I can script in about a dozen languages, but I can't code for my life. I have an engineer that when I need something coded or an exploit developed, I say, develop me this exploit, deliver it via this method and have it do this and point back here. That's it. That's all I do. It's like a creative brief, basically. Yeah. So yeah, for the love of God, don't be afraid of the coding. Excellent final takeaway. Love that. Mackenzie?
Well, Amber, you nailed it. I think, know yourself. I think the biggest lesson I learned is that I had to take my own advice and take care of me and make sure that I was feeling like I was getting what I needed to be, the kind of person I wanted to be. And cyber certainly, met that need. I think also bringing it back to gratitude and just relying on a network, building a network, investing in a network, and also really feeling appreciative for those hands that are pushing you forward, that are helping pull you up. That is so cool. And I think everyone says like, oh, the power of networking, you've got to build your, Meryl, you're such an incredible brand builder. And that's so awesome. Right. But even if you're not a Meryl, because there's only one amazing Meryl, it's still
just trying to keep up with Amber. Okay.
That's true. I feel like these two are like the queens of this, the cyber queens. Right. But yeah, just knowing who your people are and not being afraid to accept the help and to ask for the help is huge. Yes. And then, in terms of the industry, it's about not being intimidated. It's about taking that first chance and feeling comfortable. For me, feeling like I was in my career, I was doing really well. It was hard to take that step back, eat that humble pie and be like, I'm an idiot. I know nothing. Pretend like you're talking to a 5-year-old. That's where I'm at. And I had to get really comfortable with that. And I didn't like that. I had this whole persona as this really capable person that knew everything and didn't need a lot of help. And asking for help was really, really tough. I think it's really hard for women in any space to admit that they don't know something because we're constantly afraid that that's going to mean people discredit us and discount us. Yep. And getting confident and secure enough to say like, yeah, I don't have any idea what you're saying. Can you say that all again?
Again,
but slower and like I'm dumber. Like I need you to break that down more for me. That was huge. And it's not as scary a place as it seems. To both of your points, you don't have to be the hacker in the basement with the hoodie up, on some crazy hackathon. That's great. Those people are amazing, freaking rock stars, but that doesn't have to be everyone. And it's been really good to get in this space and just realize what a great community it is. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And if anyone has questions, add me on LinkedIn, reach out. I will answer questions for sure.
We'll drop all her social channels. I literally had her talk to my mom because my mom was intimidated and she talked to my mom for like an hour about the program. So she's a great resource. Yeah, please don't compare yourself to others. Like I am a decently successful person, I would say, and hacker, and I've never won a single net wars. I've never participated in a single CTF. I don't have an OSCP. Your journey is not someone else's journey. Right. Don't compare yourself to someone else. And like Mackenzie said, I didn't always have a big network. Originally I had like 2 or 3 allies I would go to and feel comfortable being dumb in front of and asking. Like I was just asked to stand up a server. What does that mean? I don't know. And they would send me some links and off I go because that's all the time they had. But like sometimes your tribe will be small and it will grow later. That's what happened to me. So don't feel like, oh, I don't have 10K followers like Meryl, I'm going to fail. That's not the case. Find your private tribe, your people, and they will help get you to success. That's all we have to say. Totally. All right. Thank you so much for the 5 people who joined us today because I hate you, LinkedIn. But we will post this. We will link all the things we talked about. Thank you so much to Mackenzie for joining us and sharing with us her journey. Please like, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it is the best way to support us and get the word out there so we can get more people to join us in this industry so that we can take time off and go on vacations. This has been another episode of Cyber Queens. We will see you next week for episode 16. My sister's joining us, the other Vernon. It's going to be great. So with that, awesome. We love you, and we wish you all the success, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.